Oh, hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, everyone. Happy Monday. Appreciate everyone being here and hanging out with us today. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, breaking down everything that we just saw in week 9, getting you ready for Monday Night Football. I know some of you, I've already seen the messages. Some of you need some serious Monday Night miracles, but we are here to help. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you again. And Adam, I thought it was a great weekend. There were upsets. There were lots of high scores. There were some lows that we're going to talk about more specifically, maybe on Sunday Night Football. But overall, it felt like a really good weekend. How you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. It was a pretty good day of football, some exciting games, some close ones, unlike last week where we had one game less than double digits. This time we had a lot of close games coming down to the wire, final second. So, yeah, definitely a lot of excitement more this week outside of Sunday night.
Outside of Sunday night, and hopefully we get a good game tonight. Your Dallas Cowboys, prime time. Let's go, Jacoby Brissett. What could go wrong? Nothing.
Nothing. I mean, he's playing the Cowboys defense, so he should be fine. And that total now is up to 54 and a
Oh
half.
wow, really?
Yeah, I'm waiting
Nice.
for a total of Dallas this year to start around 60. I
Yeah,
don't know if
that
we'll
would
get it.
make more sense.
I
That
think
would
if the
make more
Bengals
sense.
played the Cowboys, we might get a 60.
Ah, that would be amazing. Oh my, we'd start everyone. We'd start the backups to the backups.
Yes, the
It would be
backup tight
incredible.
ends.
We'd say everyone gets to go out there. Everyone have fun. Did you hand out candy, by the way, over the weekend? No, you didn't.
No, I did not.
All right, that's
Did
fine.
you?
No. Well, but here's the thing. I put in the effort. I got the candy. Now I'm just
Oh,
sitting here with two
now you're
bags
gonna
of
eat
candy,
it?
and now
You
I'm
got
gonna
some
give it. I gotta
Snickers?
give it. No. So I got Kit Kats, and you know what? You influenced me. I did get some Reese's
Oh
cups.
yeah, you
Oh
got to
my
send them to me
goodness.
then.
They're so. You know what? Do you want? I've
I
got a
would
whole bag.
absolutely take
I've got
them.
a whole bag. Do you think they'd be good? I'll just
Yeah,
send them
why not?
across.
You
It'll go coast to coast, and you can get the $5 bag of Reese's. Those are so good, by the way. Oh my goodness.
they
I had to
are.
put them away. And the Dodgers won. Look at that. What a weekend.
Yeah,
That was a
that
great game. I don't know
that
if
game 7 was
people
absolutely
listening
classic.
right now that maybe watched that game, that had to have been one of the best World Series games of all time. I mean, it was everything that you would have wanted for baseball.
Yes, a lot of
It was
drama. I
so
mean, if you're
fun.
not a big baseball fan, hopefully you at least watch that game. And there are some people like that. Anytime you see game 7 in any sport, I think you need to tune in if you're a sports fan.
I agree. Oh my gosh, it was so good. So it was a good weekend, and we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk with Jonathan Von Tobel later in the show, get his takes on the breakdown for tonight's game, and of course the early lines for Week 10. Adam, that's crazy. I don't know how we do this, but let's get started with some of the news at the top, some of the teams and the takeaways that we have. Let's start with Seattle. I mean, we talk about Seattle, but man, after that game last night, they've got the island game. They are the only team on, and people were able to see that the Seahawks look really legit, and they could actually be scary going down the stretch. Sam Darnold had 4 touchdown passes. JSN, someone we talk about every single week at him on the winners list. He topped 100 yards receiving for the 6th time this season, and it was never really close. The Seattle Seahawks won this game against the Commanders 38-14 yesterday night. And of course, the big news that we're going to have to wait on is Jayden Daniels and what is going to happen with him. Did you watch that replay? I'm
I
surprised
did.
they
I
I'm
watched it a few
surprised they
times,
even
actually.
replayed it to be ew. What? Why?
It does things like that don't bother me.
What do you
I mean, like I don't
mean?
get grossed out by it.
Okay, I was surprised. I mean, once they showed it, I was like, "Oh, that's
I didn't see it initially. That's why.
oh,
So when they
really? Oh,
said they
see,
brought
I
out,
did.
yeah, I didn't, and they were like, oh,
Ugh.
they brought out the cast. I was like, what happened? And then I went
It's
back
it's
trying to
so
find it, and I
bad.
was like, oh,
So
okay, yeah, that's bad.
dislocated elbow. Yeah, you knew it was bad when they were getting out the cast right away. And so dislocated elbow for Jayden Daniels. And let me just say this for all Washington Commanders fans and everyone out there that was watching that game. To me, Adam, that's malpractice. You cannot what was he doing out there?
Yeah, I thought the
There's
same thing. Look,
there's no reason to have any of your starters out there when you're getting blown out. And at that point they had 7, right? They only
yeah, it
had
was
7
38
points in
to
that
7.
game.
Yeah, and
There's no reason.
it's easy to say in hindsight, but that one was clear. I mean, they were getting dominated, and
Yes.
especially since Daniels has had multiple injuries this year, and just get all the guys out of the game. So nothing you could do about it now. These things could happen, and it's unfortunate. It's just been a nightmare season for Washington. You know, injuries have been a big part of it, but they also did not have a good roster going into the year.
No.
Like for a team that went to the NFC Championship, and this happens a lot in sports. You get there and you think, okay, next year we'll get back and take the next step. And we often see that does not work. And I just didn't think they had a good enough roster coming into the year. They just didn't. add anything. And they have a very old team.
Yeah,
Defense has been a problem. Yes, they've had injuries, but a lot of teams have had injuries. Like anyone, when they say, "Oh, we've had injuries," I go, "Okay, what about the 49ers?" Now, I
yeah,
know their centerpiece, Christian McCaffrey, of course, has stayed healthy, but they've had injuries across the board elsewhere, playing with a backup quarterback for most of the season. So, yeah, injuries definitely can derail teams, but and Washington actually has a decent backup in Marcus Mariota we've
they
seen come in.
do. Yeah,
But the rest of the roster, just a lot of problems. And yeah, even for fantasy purposes, when we were doing our Sunday show in the morning, like Gene talked about it, he didn't even feel good about starting Debo Samuel. And I saw it because
yeah.
he's not been healthy. And even with Terry McLaurin out, you get 5 for 41 from Debo. Like, that's just not good enough.
Yeah.
When you look at this team right now, okay, Mariota will be starting
It'll
next
be
week,
all,
right?
yeah. Oh,
So in a
yeah.
super flex league, start him. Is there anyone else on this team that you want to start right now?
No,
Like, I'm being
no,
serious. Like,
no, no. There's not. Debo, no, because he's
you're
just on the
going you're gonna start him, I think, if you have him, but
Yes,
you
but if
have to
you
rank him
don't
as a
feel
wide
good about
receiver
it,
3.
yes, and Terry McLaurin, if he's back, you don't necessarily
And do you
love
know
it.
who they play next week?
Oh, geez, who?
An angry team coming off a loss. Then if I think against the spread coming off a loss, I think under Campbell they
Oh,
have
is
it.
it Oh, it's
Yeah,
the
the
Lions.
Lions.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I mean, Zach Ertz maybe as a tight end too, but like there's and the running backs. I mean, look, with Krosky Merritt, I was surprised he was in the game in the fourth quarter. He wound up getting
no
12
one should have
carries.
been. No one should have been in that game in the fourth quarter. It was crazy.
But Krosky Merritt, you can't even play. Like
No.
he's touchdown dependent. Like, do you really think he's going to score next week against Detroit? Now we've seen crazy things in the NFL, but he's barely involved in the passing game. He had one catch, and
Hmm.
if he doesn't score a touchdown, it's not a good day. And we've seen this week after week with him. So yeah, there's just not a lot here on this team right now for fantasy purposes.
Man, it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing, almost beyond disappointing. And if you're right, at some point you might have to look around and say, okay, well, this week I have to start Debo. This week I have to, if they get Terry McLaurin back, I have to start Terry, but you're never going to feel good about it. Their bye is not until week 12. Maybe week 11, we say different things because obviously Mariota's probably going to be in there. They're on the road against Miami, but
Okay, yeah. That's a
that might
week.
be one.
No, they're home that week. Oh no, that's in
No, they're
the
on the road.
overseas. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's the Barcelona game.
I feel so bad for people that bought tickets
Miami,
to that game.
Washington is what we're sending
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Sure is. I don't know why they continue to do that. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt hasn't gone over 6 fantasy points since week 5. And this team is just, it feels like a dead season that they're just going to continue on. We'll get news on Jayden Daniels again. It's a dislocated elbow. He's getting the MRI today, but they also, they lost Lattimore. He had a torn ACL. Luke McCaffrey, not as big, but he broke his collarbone in that game too. So it just feels like a little bit of a lost season there. And like I said, it was over before it really even got started in that game last night. But why Jayden Daniels or anyone was still in there when the team's down 38-7 in the fourth quarter of a game that you just know you're not going to win. No one's going to be held accountable for that, but man, so they need to take a long look in the mirror and say to themselves, why are we doing that? Because even if he is ultra competitive, which we know that Jayden Daniels is, that's a franchise quarterback that you were trying to get for a really long time, and you need to protect that at all costs, and they didn't. It's just disappointing.
Yeah, look, I was saying it at the time, and there's people who second guess all the time, and I just thought in this one, right when the fourth quarter started, I'm like, wow, he's still in there. So
Yeah.
again, he could have gotten hurt early in the game. These things happen, unfortunately, but there were, especially since he's dealt with multiple injuries this year, it was the time to just take him out. Especially since he runs so much too. He had 10 carries
Yeah.
for 51 yards, so did have the rushing touchdown. So even with a depleted skill team, lack of skill players around him, he still has been performing decently. Not to the level that we saw last year, but did get the rushing touchdown, ran
Yeah.
a little bit. But it's tough when you don't have a lot of weapons around you.
So we'll more than likely see Marcus Mariota this week. I can tell you that, and hopefully it might be a thing where we start to talk about him for the rest of the season. We're just waiting to get confirmation on that, and we're getting into the part of the season, Adam, where it's now the beginning of November again, which is crazy. But when we start talking about injuries from now until December, we have to look at the timeline of when they're going to be able to return. Because when it's early September, mid October, you say, okay, when we were just talking about Cam Scadaboo, they said, all right, the timeline should be that he's able to return for OTAs, he's going to be there for training camp. But once we start getting into these later months, which it might look obvious, but just to say it out loud, you have to wonder and make sure if they're going to be good to start the season. So that's going to be one of the bigger things with Jayden Daniels here. We'll keep an eye on that. Just to finish this one off, I mean, can we just Jackson Smith and Jigba, a cheat code every single time? And for Sam Darnold to do what he's doing, the offensive line has been protecting him. Sam Darnold deserves all his flowers because he looks so good. Even in my wildest dreams, Adam, I did not expect Sam Darnold to look as good and to look as calm and efficient as he has so far this season. But I mean, him and his connection with JSN is just incredible. You also saw rookies go out there. You saw Torrey Horton score two. You had Elijah Arroyo get in on the mix. So this team is this team is dangerous. I'm excited to see how this division shakes out towards the end.
Yeah, look, we saw Darnold play very well last year, and a lot of people said it was a product of the system in O'Connell and Minnesota. He's showing that's not the case. I still think, though, the litmus test for him is the playoffs. Like, you need to see him get it done in a big spot. He's shown he can do it over the course of the regular season. When the money's on the line, can he get it done? So I think that's still a question that Seahawks fans will be asking themselves until January. With Smith and Jigba, I mean, this is insane what he is doing.
I know.
Because he's unstoppable right now. And I think this week we have to see his player prop start at 100.5 because it's been in the 90s and he keeps going over it every single week. The only one he didn't cash his longest reception though. It did. We discussed it during the week.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think it was 26.5. And then when I looked like a day later, it was up to like 28.5. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to bail on that. But I do the overall rankings that I'll be doing later today. I think he has to be number one, a receiver right now.
Oh, for
right.
sure.
I mean,
yes.
I know because people have been giving us pushback on Jamar Chase not being one, and it's like we've seen like the last 2 weeks he's been good, but he hasn't scored a touchdown, right? And Smith and Jigba is doing this every single week. His worst game this year is 13, and he's often in the 20s. He's second in points per game in PPR, only behind Puka. You can make a case for Puka, but again, chest injury left the game. They said he's going to be fine, but it's like
you never know.
I don't know why they gave him a carry too. You had the game in control. Like, why are you giving that guy a carry when you know he's banged up? But yeah, I guess who would it be between JSN and Chase for number one, a receiver?
And honestly,
or Puka?
this
Puka's
week
got to be up there too, though. I know
does.
it's the
I'll
injury
just have
factor.
to watch the injury report.
Because Puka, outside of the game that he left with injury in week 6, he hasn't had fewer than 22.2 in PPR.
Yeah. I think this week I have to put JSN 1. They face the Arizona Cardinals, and I know those divisional games.
You're saying for weekly. I'm saying for the rest of the season
and rest of season.
Yeah,
that's probably where you have to put him.
Yeah, it's just every single week he just has not had a bad game.
Again, I think you do. And it is close, but it's one of those things where JSN, he's on pace to break that single season record for receiving yards. I know a lot of them stay on pace and then sometimes they fall off. Like you have to be able to keep a ridiculous pace to be able to do that. That was the Calvin Johnson record set in 2012, 1,964, but he is on pace to break that. So, and he's just a cheat code basically for fantasy football. You don't need us to tell you that every single week you're going in there. Whenever I'm facing JSN too, I just roll my eyes. I say, great, that's fantastic.
Yeah, pencil in 25.
When it's CMC, I'm like, really? How many times do I have to face these guys every single
We were
week?
saying that about Jonathan Taylor. But that changed
I know.
passing.
Did you see how I didn't mention him yet? We're going to talk about him. Let's do another, welcome back to the NFL, JJ McCarthy. What was your takeaway from the Minnesota Vikings? This game, I mean, they made Jared Goff's day so difficult. You had lows from Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, everyone around that Lions team. To me, that was the most surprising thing, is that the Lions really never got anything going. And so you had JJ McCarthy do his part. Vikings won this game 27-24 on the road after we said this Lions team is going to be really upset coming into this game. Now they're going to be even more upset. JJ McCarthy threw for 143 yards, 14 of 25 passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then he ran one in himself. So what was your overall takeaway? To be honest, Adam, hand up, I dropped him in our GST. I'm playing Jacoby Brissett today, but he looked
I
really
would have
good.
done the same
Oh,
for this week.
every
Yeah.
single time I
Well,
would
you
have
have
done
Jalen
that.
Hurts, so it was a bye week thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I would have
but
done the same thing.
he
Uh,
looked all right.
I thought he got off to a really good start, then struggled, but with the game on the line, it was 3rd and 5, and they asked him to make a throw, and he threw a really good pass to Jalen Naylor to seal
Yeah.
it. So the fact that they had the confidence in him to make that throw was good. He took 5 sacks. We know the offensive line is still an issue. They did have both their tackles back. He did run a little bit. It wasn't efficient, but 9 carries for 12 yards and a touchdown.
Mhm.
From a fantasy perspective, it was a good statistical day. But if he is only going to be throwing 25 passes a game, it is a problem for this offense fantasy wise. Now, is that because they were mostly playing from ahead? I mean, it was 17-14 at the half, so it was a tight game.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the numbers, Jefferson got his, so that was good. He led the team in targets with 9, 6 for 47 and a touchdown. So the touchdown saved his day. Jordan Addison only 2 for 48, where he was rolling with Wentz. We already knew that Hockenson was going to be hurt because we saw the first 2 games. Hockenson didn't get a lot of targets, but he had a touchdown, but only 2 for 11. So I'm interested to see if they're going to let him pass a little bit more, because if they stay in the 25 or lower range, Jefferson's like the only guy that you can count on. You're probably still going to play Addison as a wide receiver 3, but he becomes touchdown dependent, and Hockenson is a guy you probably can't use. So, and then we got to pay attention to the backfield, because this was
gosh.
the Aaron Jones took over this backfield yesterday before he got hurt. Like, he was around 75% of the snaps.
And Jordan Mason looked like
Yeah, he has not looked good.
bad. He's looked so bad.
So Jones has an AC joint sprain in the shoulder. They're saying he likely will play next week. But again, they always say this stuff. My guess is you won't see him practice much. So that's something to keep an eye on, because we already said all week you couldn't play Jordan Mason with Jones back, especially since we thought the Vikings would play from behind as, 8-9 point underdogs. And then this week they play the Ravens. So,
okay. I mean,
and the Ravens have looked better.
Yeah, they've looked better. And I mean, you're right on McCarthy. He was helped by Aaron Jones more specifically, gained 78 yards on those 9 carries. And there was that early down efficiency that the Vikings, we haven't necessarily seen them have. And then I think on the other side too, defensively, they played a better game than we had seen them play in weeks over there. So they were really getting to Detroit and Jared Goff. Jared Goff, they generated a 47.6% pressure rate on Jared Goff. I mean, Jared Goff you could tell he just had no time. And so I think that at every level for the Vikings, it was really good. And I think that is also what helped them, secure this win. But it was a good, at least, start, right, for JJ McCarthy. This is one where you needed to build his confidence, and he just needed to feel good out there. And I think this is one of those games where you'll look back and maybe he's able to build off of this. Again, he wasn't perfect. We know that. When he complete, 14 of 25, 143, there are some holes that we can poke in this. But I think overall, Adam, this is exactly what JJ McCarthy needed to feel good going forward. And again, a Ravens team, they're going to look better every single week, but we still know this defense can be done on. So I think overall a great game. Surprising to me. Hopefully no one took the Lions in Survivor, but there were some upsets
why
this
would you
weekend.
do that? Well,
there were good upsets this weekend.
Well, the pool that we were in, I'm still alive. I think it's down to 26 now. So 4 people took. Who was the team that got eliminated? I took the Rams.
It was probably the Packers.
No, the Rams. Oh, yes. So 4 people took the Packers. So that trimmed the pool.
Wow.
Everyone else majority took the Rams. Some took the Patriots. And there was one other team. So, but yeah, I mean, the Rams to me were the layup this week, coming off a bye against Tyler Shuck. I couldn't see them losing. So I am still alive.
There we go. I took the Chargers in one of my other ones, but man, for a moment there, that did not look fantastic. But they got it back together. They're
I
all right.
thought they were going to win, but it's just like this, the history of this team, and then on the
I know.
road, I know it was Tennessee, so they scared me a little bit. I didn't think they would lose, but I'm just like, if I
You're like,
pick the Chargers and they lose, I am absolutely gonna be like, I told you,
I
why did
know.
you do it? So
I
I couldn't
know.
do it.
I got out of it though, Adam. Don't worry. I got out of it. At K Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there on X is where you can find us. Send us any questions that you have. The Monday Night Miracles that you need from the Dallas Cowboys and Arizona Cardinals going up against each other tonight. We're going to continue on because you already know it's an overreaction Monday. We are overreacting to some things that we saw in Week 9. Have to talk about. Can we get the Bears and the Bengals to play every single week, Adam? I would absolutely love that. And then what are the Packers for real, or are they just not a serious contender? We're breaking that down and more here coming up next. Happy Monday, everyone. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us this morning. Mid-afternoon, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope, this morning, 10:30 your time, Adam. You're up and ready to go. Coffee?
Yeah, I'm drinking
Okay,
some
there we
coffee
go.
right
There
now.
we go. It's an
It's Monday,
overreaction.
man. I mean,
I know, you gotta
Sunday,
have it.
even with that extra hour of sleep Sunday, still
That was
long
love.
days on
That was
Sundays.
lovely. Yeah, the fall back. Now it's brighter out in the mornings. I love it.
Yeah, and then dark early, which I don't
I'm
like,
okay.
but
I'm okay with it. I'm
well,
fine.
you don't go outside.
Well, okay, watch it. Okay, we don't need to do this early. This is too much for me right now, okay? It is an overreaction Monday, though, breaking down everything we saw in week 9. Adam has a great article at fantasylife.com, so make sure you guys go and check out those takeaways that he has written up. Can we just really, I mean, really, the Bears and Bengals, we should petition to have them play every single week because that means we get fantasy points, except if you're a Roma Dunze manager, then you get zeros, which is absolutely nuts. But this game came down to it. This was fun too. I mean, the Bears managed to pull off the 47-42 win, the game winning touchdown in the final, what was the final minute, I think, to just put down the Bengals, who were having a massive comeback in this one. Chicago held the 14-point lead with under 3 minutes to play, and Joe Flacco said, "Hang on, I can get this done." But eventually, it just didn't get done. Caleb Williams went 20 of 34, finished with 280 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and then Joe Flacco on the other side, 470 yards, 4 touchdowns, and finished 31 of 47. And Colston Loveland, oh my goodness, what a day he had for. And Cole Kmet left this game with a concussion, so that's a part that you have to look at. But overall, unless you hopefully well, he did play Roma Dunze, I know that for a fact. But I'm sorry for everyone doing that. It was a great game to see.
Yeah, Dunze unfortunately saw a lot of DJ Turner, who's
Yeah.
actually been one of the top cover corners this year. So that hurt him. He did have a target in the end zone that it was behind him. He could have caught it, but it was not a good throw. He was open, and Caleb could have let it more. Could have been a touchdown. Caleb Williams in one of my leagues put up like 47 and a half
Yep,
points.
sounds about
So
right.
I wouldn't expect that. Obviously, every week you don't get to play Cincinnati, but he got the job done. And Colston Loveland, look, play your tight ends against the Bengals. We've talked about it a lot. That is now 12 touchdowns they have allowed to tight
Oh
ends
my
this year.
goodness.
They are
That's
just getting
insane.
destroyed by tight ends. And Loveland, against any other team, would have been tackled on that play that won the
Mhm.
game, but that's the Bengals defense. So, yeah, Loveland was still playing a good amount of the snaps with Komet on the field before Komet got injured. I think it was around 70, 75%. So, if he's out, then that obviously upgrades Loveland for sure. But he had the great matchup here, and pretty much everyone you used. Kyle Monangai, what a game now. He did get
Oh
a
my
touchdown
goodness.
stolen by Britton Brown, but Monangai with 29 touches in this game for 198 yards. So I'm interested to see what happens when DeAndre Swift come back, because we saw not a committee, but we did see Monangai get more involved as they shifted to more of a run-first philosophy.
Yep.
So let's see what happens when Swift comes back. Because it's not like Swift was bad. He was solid, but maybe they, run a lot more. In this game, obviously, they had to pass a little bit as they fell behind and it was late. But, Caleb Williams only attempted 34 passes. They had 4 players attempt to pass in this game, too.
It's incredible. They didn't call us. We could have gone out there and done it.
Yeah.
Why not?
But, yeah, this is what you expect. And, if you
It was
see some of the
awesome.
comments coming out of the Bengals locker room after, I mean, that Chase
Oh,
Brown
they were
interview is all
pissed.
over the place. And he dropped like 7 F-bombs, maybe 8 during that interview. But you could
Because they
see,
know they can't make the play. They know that the
well, because the
playoffs are
defense,
out
like
of
Chase
reach.
Brown,
Yeah.
they're all frustrated with the defense, and usually that stays in house. That should show
Mhm.
you how probably bad it is in that locker room that they voiced those frustrations to the media after the game.
Well, especially after you have an organization that went out, and I think it was Jamar Chase that once they went out and got Joe Flacco, he said, "I appreciate that they're, putting the effort in." Because some teams and organizations will just say, "Well, we just lost Joe Burrow for what looks like that could be the season," but they put the effort in to make sure to go out and get someone. Joe Flacco's playing, I think, better than a lot of people expected in this offense as well. So it has to be frustrating. I saw a report too that the defensive players just didn't even talk after the game.
Yeah.
That
I
they
mean, what are
just
they going to say?
they probably don't
They-
want the questions, to be
like, yeah, we
honest with
suck.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
can't
mean
stop
we
anyone.
know it. So it's disappointing. The Bengals though, I mean at least here's my thing though. They're really not going to they had to really win out to win this to win to be able to go into the playoffs. They're sitting at 3-6. I know anything can happen in this AFC North. Steelers are sitting up there at 5-3. Ravens are 3-5. They're making their way back up, but for the Bengals, it really felt for at least us to see Joe Burrow again that they would have to be very close at the end in December to making the playoffs to see a return. And it just doesn't look like that's going to that's going to happen. But overall, a great game. And yeah, like you said, Kyle Monangai, we said it on waivers. We've had him on there for a couple weeks. So hopefully you were able to pick him up. The Bears had moved to more of a 50-50 split with these running backs in recent weeks. I think that had more to do with the injury to DeAndre Swift. But I think, Adam, when we look at this, they might have to just reconsider things and say, well, Kyle Monangai looked really good. But I do think that Swift, if you have him, he's been the better receiver. So maybe we see him still remain, with them for the passing downs once he's back healthy. But Monangai moving forward, maybe he's the primary rusher, and then they just make a split like that. That's the one thing that I'm going to look at.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Bengals, so keep that in mind.
That's
Also,
true.
too, they gave him such a huge workload. Maybe that was like, okay, we know Swift's going to be back next week, so we can give him almost 30 touches. So they get the Giants next week. So
Okay.
yeah, we'll see if Swift is able to return. But if you have him on guy, obviously you're going to hold on to him and see how this plays out. I did have him in a few leagues that I've been holding him for a long time, and then
Nice.
it's always nice when you're like, oh, okay, I can just plug this guy in my lineup.
Paid off a little bit.
Yeah, I
There you
mean,
go.
again, it was a very good game. It could have been better with the touchdown, but Britton Brown came in and got that
Because why
touchdown.
not?
That's
Well,
unfortunate, but yeah, you're happy with the production. And then with Cincinnati, Flacco obviously he's going to put the ball in the air 40 plus times every single game. He's done 47 in 2 of the last 3. Samaje Perine left this game with injury. Now they are on bye next week, so it sucks for fantasy because that's a defense that we're picking on, and we expect
yeah.
a lot of points in those games. They'll be off. So Chase Brown, not much on the ground, but 8 catches for 75 yards. So you love to see that. And hopefully you didn't bench T. Higgins. I know we had a call yesterday. We're like,
Oh,
nope, you got to
really?
play.
No, you
Yeah.
gotta. I mean,
Well,
if
because
there
remember
was a
he had
quarterback
he had
change,
he had 1 catch last week for
yeah.
44 yards. It was a touchdown, but he only had 2 targets. So you know how people react to stuff, and it was like, look, that's an
The
outlier.
matchup was so good though this weekend.
Yeah.
You just had to start
So
him. Yeah.
Chase Brown actually led the team in targets with
Oh
14.
my god. Because they don't care. They don't care about
But
our
yeah,
fantasy, but
what you're doing.
it was a good day.
You're playing Higgins, Chase Brown
Yeah.
every week.
Let's go over the Colts, huh? The Colts looked a little bit, came back down to earth, I guess I should say. Pittsburgh Steelers picked off Daniel Jones 3 times in this game. You know what? How I know? I kept checking the scores because I started Daniel Jones. Of course, why wouldn't you start Daniel Jones in this one? You knew it was going to be tough, but man, they picked him off 3 times, forced 6 total turnovers, and they won this game. The Pittsburgh Steelers did 27-20 over the Indianapolis Colts, and that was in Pittsburgh, and it was a rough day. He was also sacked 5 times in this one. I mean, they went after him, and the mistakes that the Colts made, they just weren't able to turn it around. They outgained the Steelers in this one. They won the time of possession battle as well. And Adam, they couldn't put it together. And I know that you and I had talked and mentioned, the Indianapolis Colts and the schedule that they had faced so far this season. But up against a really tough Pittsburgh team, they were not able to get this one out. The Steelers were able to kind of go back to their turnover magic. That's something that we saw earlier in the season where they were doing really well when they were able to force those turnovers, and they were able to do it in this one with Daniel Jones. And so, yeah, this was a little bit more surprising to me than I think it should have been, but 27-20 was what the Steelers walked away with.
I wasn't too surprised. I was worried for the Colts in this game. I took the 3.5 points. I
Oh,
thought it would
nice.
be more high scoring though. It went under the total. The surprise was Pittsburgh's defense because they've been terrible this year. So
Yeah.
Jones was under a lot of pressure. He also lost 2 fumbles. He fumbled 3 times, lost 2. So he turned it over 5 times. So that's not what we've seen from him this year. From a fantasy perspective, he was still, as long as you're weren't penalized too much for the interceptions, he still, passed for 342, threw a touchdown, rushed for a touchdown. So it wasn't awful. Jonathan Taylor, obviously, worst game of the year, 14
Yep.
carries for 45 yards, just 2 catches for 12. But you did get over 100 yards for Pierce and Pittman. Downs came through with a touchdown. Tyler Warren was a disappointment, 5 for 26. But yeah, look, the Colts were kind of due for a game like this because their offense has been, consistent every single week. Like this
Yep.
is only the second time this year that they haven't reached 29 points in a game. That's how good they have been. So yeah, it's just, a tough spot on the road against Pittsburgh, a team that has been struggling, but the defense that is paid so much money showed up this week.
There we go. The Colts are at home this week against the Falcons. Then they go on the road to, oh, it looks like no, there's a bye in there. So that there's a bye before November 23rd. They go on the road to face the Chiefs. Then they take on the Texans to close out November. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor, he was shut down. The early MVP, votes, candidacy, whatever you want to say, took a little bit of a hit here,
No, I took
Adam.
a big hit. It's
Yeah,
so we already know if you're a running back, like you have to have a historic season. So
you
one
do.
bad game drops you. It's not like quarterback. Like Mahomes had a bad game, he's still second in the MVP voting, whereas Taylor dropped quite a bit. Sam Darnold
His
moved up.
His longest run was just 9 yards. Didn't reach the end zone for, and that's something where we say, okay, is he going to score 3 or 4 this, 2 or 3 this week, 3 or 4? What are we looking at with Jonathan Taylor? But yeah, after having he had up to 850 rushing yards and 12 rushing touchdowns through the first 8 games of the year. And again, it was season lows, 45 yards on 14 carries, which was disappointing. And just to shout out the Steelers defense one more time. I mean, they actually hadn't forced a turnover since week 4 in that, and that was Dublin. That was the Dublin game, and they won this turnover battle 6-1, scored 24 points off takeaways, Adam. That's how you win. That's how you beat the Colts. I think, the Colts, we were going to see a game like this. We were expecting this at some point in the season, especially with the schedule, especially with how they look to start the year. And it's not an easy rest of season schedule either. So we'll see how they do. But standings, when you look at them, they're still first in the AFC South. They still have a 7-2 record. And yeah, they're going to be all right. And you still got good fantasy points, like you said. Alec Pierce was one that if you were able to flex him, he looked good. Michael Pittman looked good as well, and still 14 points from Daniel Jones. So you'll take that. Just not the usual highs that we usually get. It's fine.
Yeah,
It
it
is fine.
should be fine. We expect them to bounce back going forward.
Please, we just absolutely need it. We're gonna keep overreacting. We're gonna look through your overreactions as well. I see some messages coming in at K Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. Have to talk about the Packers. Are they a serious contender or are they not? Also, Matthew Stafford may be putting together a really nice MVP season as well. We're gonna break it down here coming up next. Breaking down everything that we saw in week 9. FantasyLife.com is where you can go check out all of our articles 100% free. If you want an early look at waivers, I got it, Adam. I put that waiver article out at 3 o'clock my time, and I need to just stop doing that because then there are always more guys that get hurt. And I think, I just need to press pause, wait till maybe Monday Night Football, maybe that game gets over, because then I have to go and update it, and we can't have nice things. So we'll break down everything with waivers here tomorrow, more specifically, and break down all the injury news that you need to know. And we'll keep an eye out today as well. But can we go through some? It's an overreaction Monday. I want to go through some winners though, because it's been a little bit low to start the day. Brock Bowers, hello. He said, I'm here. Don't worry about my injury, guys, because I'm going to get you 43.1 fantasy points. And that was in the overtime loss that they had with Jacksonville, which was insane. The highest single scoring game by a tight end so far this season. And that was after, again, missing those 3 games with the knee injury. And he just said, don't worry about it. I'm here. Caught 12 of 13 targets, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had 1 carry for 6 yards as well. Fantastic, Adam. Can you tell that I did not have to play against him? I actually had him. So I was a very happy Brock Bowers manager.
Yeah, as all of you should be, even though it's been a tough road, you hope that you were able to stay afloat while he was out because, again, invested a very early pick. I saw him go late first, early to late second round. He was pretty much going in the first 2 rounds, and you have not got that return so far. And it was the
Yeah.
injury. He clearly was not 100%, and they probably should have rested him immediately. Instead, he was playing through it with the brace. And you saw when he's healthy what he can do. He's now first in points per game in PPR formats among tight
Nice.
ends.
Yeah, he's just so good when he is out there, when he is healthy. Now, it's going to be tough in week 10. They're going up against the Broncos defense. So, can't necessarily expect that week in and week out, but he is locked in. I think I have him early. I was taking a look. He'll be top 3 play at the position just cuz it's Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I think looking at this tight end landscape, I think he has to be number one among tight ends the rest of the way. You can make a case for McBride.
Yeah.
Ferguson takes a little bit of a hit with CeeDee Lamb back. So, yeah, I think it's either McBride or Bowers won the rest of the way.
Yeah, he looked really good. So just had to shout him out because it was a finally thing. Him and Colston Loveland. I mean, really, Colston Loveland with the 29. We already talked about him, but 29.8, 22 from Dalton Kincaid. You had some really good scores from the tight ends. Another winner that I just wanted to mention too, Drake London. Hello, Drake London. Good to see you. We know. Here's the thing, Adam. We know how talented Drake London is. We know that he is athletic, that he has the ability to put up games like this a lot more often than he does right now. But he had some big time plays. They lost this game. This was a really fun game to watch too, but they ultimately lost this game against the Patriots. But he put up a season best 38.8 fantasy points in that one, 9 of 14 targets, 118 yards, and he was just as dynamic as you've seen him. So this was nice to see as well.
Second
To go
time this
on.
year, he's had a game of at least 30 points in PPR.
Here
So
we go.
it comes down to the play of Michael Penix. If Penix plays well, London goes off. If he doesn't,
Hmm.
it's a problem. So London is up to sixth in points per game in PPR formats. So he also has a 25-point game. So he's had some insane games this year, and he's had a couple of down games as well. There's been
Yeah.
much made too of the splits with him and Darnell Mooney. I don't think that's a concern going forward, as we saw Mooney was active and didn't do anything. So yeah, it just really, the biggest thing too is he missed last week with that injury. So the fact that he came back and was healthy, and he made some really tough catches. Like, that's the thing. Penix just needs to put the ball in the area, allow London to go up and use his size to
Exactly.
go get it. And he did that
Exactly.
multiple times in this game. So that's what you want to see. But you also look too, at least 10 targets in every game he's played this year except 2, and the other ones were 4 and 8. So when you're going to get that much opportunity, you have a chance to put up big numbers every week. And we know it's not going to be 3 touchdowns every week, but you feel good if you have Drake London going forward. And again, this offense is basically Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. That's what we want to see for fantasy. Stop spreading the ball around like the Bills, where 10 players catch a
Oh
damn
my
pass.
gosh, what are we doing? Come on. Think about our fantasy teams. That's what we need to
Exactly. That's
that's
the
what we need to tell
priority.
them. I mean, like, what are
None
they
of
doing?
you,
You don't need
most
to
of you are not
win.
even Super Bowl contenders. So just boost our
Just give us
fantasy
some
teams.
fantasy points. Do it for us. Yeah, it's just that's what I was saying though about Drake London. It's just he is so athletic and he is so talented that it's really just like it has to be for Michael Penix just a well, Drake London's down there somewhere. Let me just toss it up there. And he has had some lows, right? 5.9, 10.5. We'll take, it 13.5, 8.2, but those highs, 31.8, 25, 38.8 this last week. It was just really nice to see. Let me throw you this one for Overreaction Monday. Matthew Stafford is putting together an MVP season. Is that an overreaction? I mean, because we talked about okay, the connection with Devonte Adams, that's starting to look even better week in and week out, Adam. It's we never wanted those injuries, but the week that they did not have Puka Nakua, you could tell that they really started to get on the same page here. And we knew it might take a second to get there for both of them. But he just looked really, really good. He's logged back-to-back games with 4 or more passing touchdowns, has 21 this season through his 8 starts. And it's just, I mean, over the last 5 games, too, he's thrown 16 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He has a really, really good looking resume right now, and they are throwing the ball around. Right, Devonte Adams is going to get his Puka Nakua as well. 7 players had at least 2 catches in double-digit yards in this one, so he's looking really nice though for someone that we were nervous about. I was nervous about his back injury. I said, "Oh my goodness, how's he going to look the season?" And look at him; he doesn't care.
Yeah, a lot of people were worried. Again, that's why Puka Nakua, depending on when you drafted, slipped to the late second round. Whereas if you knew Stafford was healthy, Puka was easily a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an overreaction about the MVP. I mean, it's 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The team is winning, and he is all the way up to fourth in MVP odds.
Okay.
At DraftKings right now, Josh Allen is the favorite at plus 180. Mahomes is plus 350. Drake May is plus 425. Stafford is plus 550.
Where's
And
Sam
then
Darnold?
Baker Mayfield's plus 1,600 and Darnold's plus 2,000. And then
Okay.
Lamar Jackson at plus 2,200.
Hmm. I think he's putting together. I mean, he's got a nice season
And
so
then
far.
you Jonathan Taylor dropped all the way down to plus 2,800.
Wow.
I thought there's no margin for error at the skill position player. You have a bad game like he did because you need to have a historic season. Whether you agree with it or not, that's just the way it is. To win at running back or receiver, it's got to be something historic. So Taylor really dropped after this one. So you see, it's definitely a quarterback award.
They said in this game too, Puka Nacua, I put him on the injury list for waivers. They said that if they needed him to go back in there, he was able to go. Be careful. We hear that a lot. And usually,
I
I will say McVay's usually okay with telling us the
Yes,
truth about injuries,
he
but
told us Stafford was going to be fine, and he was right.
yeah, geez, we should have really listened to him. His coach speak index has to be really good, but just in case that something happens in practice or anything. Obviously Puka Nacua's return helped this LA team as well, and they had 30 first downs and 438 yards. It was just you knew they were going to win this one, and they definitely did that. The NFC, I'm telling you, this division is going to be so fun by the end of it. I've been saying
Oh
that for a
yes,
couple
the
weeks,
NFC
but
West, yeah.
those games are going to be flexed. I mean, we're because the Seahawks, I think, take on the Colts in a few weeks down the stretch. I mean, there's going to be some really good games down the stretch for that NFC West.
Yeah, it's a fun division, some good teams, and yeah, Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers all battling for that top spot.
How are the 49ers still in this with all those injuries? It just blows my mind. Week in and week
Yeah,
out.
and maybe they get Ricky Pearsall back soon. Now the Brock Purdy situation, I don't know because they
That
made
has
it seem
been
like he was
weird.
close, and now they're saying, yeah, I don't know, the toe's going to be a problem all year. So
At this point, why would they have not? I don't, we're not coaches, but putting someone on IR at that point, how many games has he missed? How many games has he played?
he's
Two?
it feels like he's only played 2,
I
right?
agree. Let me look. It's got to be. It's low. Let me just say
So
that. We
they
have not seen
basically
him.
said
Two
that it
games.
yeah, they don't I picked him up in a league looking ahead to the bye next week thinking he would start, and now I'm like might have to drop him for
Maybe,
someone else. So
maybe not.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
think
don't know.
that
It's just been
it's
weird.
not going to go away all year.
Well, it's the turf toe injury. So I mean, we saw what it did to Joe Burrow. So we'll see if he's able to get back out there. But yeah, that's just been an odd situation. Continuing on here, were our questions answered? I want to talk through, what the split looked like with Tyrone Tracy now being that maybe lead back with Cam Scottaboo out. Also, what the Jaguars looked like without Travis Hunter. We're gonna break it down coming up here next. You are listening to Fantasy Life right here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on this Monday, breaking down everything that we saw in week 9. And what did we see with Tyrone Tracy? Not, we didn't see not much fantasy points. I'll say that, unfortunately, Adam. With Cam Scottaboo out of the lineup there, we expected Tyrone Tracy to handle the bulk of just everything that this backfield had to offer. But he was out carried by Devin Singletary because again, we can't have nice thing. It was it was not by much. I think it was by 3. But Tracy did more as a receiver, which I think we expected as well. Finished the day with just 6.7 fantasy points, but he did have 3 receptions for 19 yards, and then he had 5 carries for 18. No touchdowns in this one, so a little bit disappointing for people that spent money on Tyrone Tracy. Was one that you picked up and put in your lineups immediately. But it might be, dare we say, running back by committee going forward.
I think this was very disappointing. There were people who spent money on him, and based on what we saw last week after Scatterbull left the game, you saw Tracy looking like the lead back, and that was not the case here. And if it's playing out like this, it is a problem for both backs, and I don't know if you could play either because number one, you have an offense that's not that good. Number two, Jackson Dart is going to run a lot. He had 8 carries for 56 yards and a rushing touchdown. So you have a quarterback that they're designing runs for and that is running a lot. And then you're going to split a backfield in an offense that's not one of the better ones in the NFL. So, yeah, this is a problem for Tyrone Tracy.
And just to reiterate your point from week 8, when we saw Cam Scatterbo go down, it was against Philadelphia last week, and he had 10 carries for 39 yards in that one once he went down. And then he also had 2 receptions for 14. So we'll see if there's a little bit of a change, but right now, he's going to be one of my biggest rankings fallers going into week 10, just based off what we saw, because anytime we see running back by committee, two-headed monster, or really not a monster, maybe two-headed, what, cat, kitten?
Yeah, so
Uh, whatever
last
they want to
week it
be.
was 63% of the snaps for Tracy, Singletary 15%. This week, 56% for Singletary, 44% for Tracy.
It's bad. That's just awful. Let me hit this one more here, because I saw some questions on what Isiah Pacheco would look like, or what, excuse me, the Chiefs would look like without Isiah Pacheco, and it was Kareem Hunt. That was it. Brashard Smith. I think at this point, if you're not going to see Brashard Smith, now they go into a bye in week 10.
Yeah.
I'd understand it if you do drop Brashard Smith, though, because there are better handcuffs that you can go out and get. You saw 11 carries for Kareem Hunt in this game, 49 yards. And then you also, and the touchdown. And then he also had 1 reception for 6 yards, 12.5 fantasy points. Not absolutely amazing, but if it was someone you got off waivers, you were okay with it. But yeah, you're not, Brashard Smith is probably not one that's going to get in there.
One target. They keep saying we're
Yeah.
going to increase his role. And then if there was any week that it would happen, it was this week, and it did not. And there are reports that Pacheco should be ready after their bye week. So, yeah,
Yeah.
very disappointing for Brashard Smith.
Again, they've got a week 10 bye, and I would not hold it against people, Adam, if they said, you know what, I need to get a better handcuff running back. Just need to get someone else than Brashard Smith. He might be cuttable at this point, depending on how big your league size is when you look forward. All right, it is that time. It is time for the Fantasy Life Water Cooler, going through the news and notes that you need to know, and of course, taking your questions. 888-963-2682. We're going to the water cooler next. It is about that time. Time for the Fantasy Life Water Cooler. Welcome in, everyone. If you don't know by now, this is where we go through all the news and notes that you need to know from week 9, get you all caught up on the injuries and everything to get you ready for week 10, get you ready for that waiver wire run as well. Wow, say that 5 times fast. I've got my waiver article live at fantasylife.com, so you guys can go and check that out. Adam has his articles of just his takeaways and what he saw in week 9. All of our articles 100% free. And just a reminder, and it's coming to a close here soon. Fantasylife.com/comet, COMET. That is an AI powered browser, personal assistant, thinking partner, whatever you need to use it as. I use it every single day, but when you go to fantasylife.com/comet, COMET, you get Fantasy Life Plus for free for 1 whole calendar year. So make sure you go and check that out. It takes about 2 minutes. There's a step-by-step guide, takes you through everything you need to do, and then you'll have full access to every ranking, tool, projection on fantasylife.com. So make sure you go and take advantage of that opportunity over there, fantasylife.com/comet, COMET. And the phone number, 888-963-2682 to call in if you've got questions. We got Monday Night Miracles, Adam. We actually have a lot. I need a Monday Night Miracle because I'm starting Jacoby Brissett. So I'm hoping that he just scores. I'd be fine with 35. 35 fantasy.
35, you'll be fine. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll take 35 if you can get it to me, Jacoby.
Yeah, if it's fine. If not, 30 is going to be all right. But he's someone that, yeah, people need him to step up tonight. So we'll go through all of your questions at Valenzuela17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. If you can't call in, make sure you send those our way over there. And we're going to go through news and notes here, Adam. Just to start off the top with what we started the show with, it's Jayden Daniels. And right now, haven't seen an update yet. The latest report was from Ian Rappaport a couple hours ago, saying that the x-rays on Jayden Daniels' elbow were negative. So that means he did not suffer any kind of fracture when he went down in that game last night against the Seahawks. The MRI, though, Adam, is the one that we're waiting on, and that's going to be the one that tells us everything we need to know for him the rest of the season. There were reports saying, quote, there is a chance this is not a season-ending injury, but I would be shocked at that point. For right now, Adam, we know that it's going to be Marcus Mariota minimum to start this week, and we'll see how much longer they're going to go to him. But we can only hope for the best news with Jayden Daniels, and that, it's not as bad as it looked, because it looked really bad.
Yeah, and just things have fallen apart for Washington, injuries, and it's just not come together. And even if he's good to go at some point at the end of the season, at that point, we clearly know they're going to be out of it. So there might be no point in bringing him back.
Absolutely brutal. So we'll keep an eye on that one. There were a good amount of injuries over the weekend that we need to look at. Brian Thomas Jr. left with an ankle injury. I know. I can't even go into it. Puka Nacua with the chest injury. Tucker Kraft had a knee injury as well. Aaron Jones had the shoulder, the AC sprain. Kayshawn Booty, because Adam was making all the booty jokes on Friday, had a hamstring
Don't
injury,
blame
so we
me.
can blame him. CJ Stroud went down with a nasty looking concussion, so we'll see how long he's going to be out for. DeAndre Swift didn't play this weekend with a groin injury. Matthew Golden, a shoulder. We can't have nice things, essentially. That's what I'm trying to say. The one things that I will break down here, Sean McVay did say Puka Nacua is okay. So hopefully we can believe him. He's usually pretty good when he talks about injuries and reporting them. Said he could have come back with his injury. Oh, it was ribs, not chest, right? It was a rib injury. I think I said chest. Either way, it looks like he should be good to go for this week, but always have a backup plan just in case.
Yeah, no, it was chest rib injuries.
Chest rib, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He
So,
was on the sideline though, so I guess that is a good thing, and they had the
that's
game
good.
well in hand. So yeah, you're always worried about Puka. He plays very physical, takes on contact, and does get banged up. That's been the one issue for him throughout his career. So
Yeah.
let's just hope that he is fine and can go next week. And the Tucker Craft injury though is
Oof,
brutal.
brutal.
They fear it's an ACL,
Yeah,
and
they said even after the game that it doesn't look good. So whenever you get that report from the head coach, it was Matt LaFleur, and the initial update was that it didn't look good. That's just what he said. So usually when they tell us that right away, we can expect the worst.
it's very unfortunate because he was
Yeah.
having a breakout season and was a really good pick for your fantasy teams, and now you have to go replace him. And what I always hate about this, like, you could have like Kraft in a league and a decent backup tight end, and you're like, well, I don't need to go to the waiver wire and spend on these tight ends that break out like Aronde Gatson. Although in the league I had Kraft, I actually did bid high on Gatson.
Oh, come on. That
No,
looks
that
good
one I
then.
got cheap. Before he had the big breakout weeks, I got him cheap. The other couple leagues I had in him, I actually spent a lot of money. So in that sense, I guess I got kind of fortunate. But there are times where if you have good tight ends, you're like, yeah, this tight end's on waivers, I'm not going to spend. And then now in hindsight, you're like, oh, I kind of wish I had Aronde Gatson on my team now. But it's just how it goes sometimes, and it just sucks for Kraft, and uh, you
It's
hate to see these
brutal.
injuries.
Oh no, you know what? It's his birthday
When
today.
today? Oh boy,
Oh, that stinks. Yeah, November 3rd, birthday. Dang it.
oof, that's not a good birthday
2000.
gift.
No, it's not great. Maybe we get better news, but usually we just kind of have to be realistic after teams tell us, and more specifically coaches that, it just didn't look good. He's had such a good season too. And that was, you and I talked about this in the offseason a lot, was that, they have all these receivers that they are obviously always going to just keep around, and they're going to keep in this rotation. They're always going to just pass the ball everywhere. But Tucker Kraft, if they were to give him more of those targets from what they did last season, and that's kind of what we started to see here. I mean, 11 of his 30 receptions over their first 7 games featured at least 15 yards after the catch. No other tight end has more than 8 through 7 games, and that's since at least 2007. We know that we always said he was a yak monster, yards after the catch monster, that he could really help lead this team to wins, and he was a big part of their offense right now. Still is. Again, we don't have the full injury news here, but it didn't get much better than some of the numbers he was putting up so far. And yeah, birthday today, 25 years old, and that's just an absolutely brutal way to go down. So we'll see what the initial, everything is with the testing. And like I said, Adam, for any of these, not yet, we're at a point November 3rd, but once we start getting into mid-November and December injuries, because they're just going to continue to happen, you just have to be concerned with their return dates and what they'll look like going into training camp and the start of next season.
Yeah, that's what we're keeping an eye on right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, this year it sucks. You have that player, but now you have to look forward to how quick. Look, we're seeing players return more faster than ever. I mean, Christian
They are.
Watson.
Yeah.
I mean, that is unbelievable that he's back and already producing.
Yeah. Christian Watson. I don't have any. Did you pick him up anywhere? I have
No,
no
I didn't.
shares.
I was like, yeah, he's not going to do much. And they spread the ball around on this
You're
team. And
just a
then,
year too early, just like
yeah.
we always are. It's fine. More injury news. It looks like Aaron Jones is expected to play next week after
Who?
leaving the game. Nope. No,
Oh.
ooh, close though. Very close. After leaving the game with that shoulder injury. Wow. Jordan Mason, though, can we just take a second? That looked awful. Jordan Mason, for what it's worth, for how much he's had to play without Aaron Jones, I, to be honest, thought he would have been doing a little bit better this season. And it hasn't been awful, right? You've still gotten 10, 12, 11, 23, 5, 8. It just hasn't been what I expected, to be honest. I've got a lot of Jordan Mason. And when we saw Aaron Jones go down, we never want injuries at him, but we knew he would step up into this bigger role. And so the most fantasy points he's had so far this season is 23.6. That was back in week 3 against Cincinnati. So they take on Baltimore this week and then Chicago. Then they're on the road against Green Bay and Seattle for weeks 12 and 13. But yeah, just been disappointing. 4.7 points against for Jordan Mason in this game against Detroit.
Yeah, it's been very disappointing for sure, and had an opportunity with Aaron Jones going down, and he's pretty much touchdown dependent. And then if Jones is able to go, he's the pass catching back. And again, in this game too, it was mostly Aaron Jones early in the game. It wasn't
Yeah.
really a split. It was a lot of Aaron Jones. So that's the worry, though, you had with Aaron Jones coming into the year, coming off the biggest workload of his career, 30 years old, and now he's had a hamstring injury and a shoulder injury. And even if he is good to go, like it's a shoulder for a running back. Like that's going to be getting contact in almost every play.
Yeah.
So you do have to worry about that. But it was pretty much all Aaron Jones in this game when he was healthy, and very little for Mason.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll keep an eye on Aaron Jones. Again, it looks like he is expected to play the for week 10 this coming week after leaving with that shoulder injury, but we'll keep an eye on that. You want some good news? Can we talk about something fun in the water cooler? How about Cam Little? You just mentioned Cam Little he kicks the NFL record 68-yard field goal on the final play of the first half. That was pretty neat. We've seen these guys just be able to do this before, but that was for the NFL record in a not necessarily great game, I should say, for the Raiders and Jaguars. But at least we got that highlight from this game, right, Adam? Come on, we love that.
Yeah, if you play in a league with kickers, I know a lot of leagues have started to eliminate them, but yeah, you'll definitely take that. And now Brandon Aubrey is watching and saying, "Okay,
Oh,
I'm gonna break
he
that."
said tonight. He said, "Just wait, I'll get you." He got 16 fantasy points off that if you had him against Las Vegas. There you go. He'll take 16 from Cam Little.
Yeah, look, those kick in leagues with kickers, those big weeks make a
Do you
big
play in
difference.
many with kick? Will you do so
Yeah,
for GST? We do team kicker, which I love
right.
because whenever if someone goes down, you don't have to spend anything or worry about it. I really like if you're gonna do kickers. I think team kicker is the way to go.
Yeah, especially in case there's an injury in game, and we've seen it.
Yeah,
Or
I just
even
had
we've
one.
seen last minute, kickers not play. So we model that league after the high stakes leagues, and they still use kickers. So, and a lot of them have shifted to team kickers. So that's why we still do it. But yeah, I know in some leagues that I play in, like some of these industry leagues, they have eliminated kickers.
I think I'm doing that next year. To be totally
Eliminating
honest.
them?
Yeah,
I mean, look, I get it. It can
I
be
like the
frustrating
extra
on a
flex
week when,
spot.
like, Chris Boswell. I mean, I still have the extra flex spot even with the kickers anyway, but I get it. It can be frustrating when you go up like a Chris Boswell putting up 25 points on you and your kicker
Yeah.
gets 3 for the week.
That's why I'm eliminating the kickers next year. It's because I haven't gotten one of those big weeks for mine. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool from Cam Little. So shout out to him. Let's go through some of these questions that I see here, Adam. Mostly Monday Night Miracle questions. If you guys want to call in though, 888-963-2682, or you can press that new call in button on the Sirius XM app, and then we'll get into potential trades that we're going to see for this trade deadline. But see a couple here on X. This is from Argan? Garn, whatever. Thank you for sending this in. I need a Monday Night Miracle. I'm up 19 and finished. They have Javonte Williams going. What are we doing for Argan?
That is
That's
going
gonna
to
be
be
close.
close. Yeah, Javonte Williams has been so good this year. And even though 2 of the last 3 games, he's been held to 41 rushing yards or fewer, but 2 rushing touchdowns last week. So, yeah, I think you got to find a way to keep him out of the end zone. That's
Yeah,
going to be
but
the
that's
key.
gonna be close. This is hopefully, we've seen it, you've said it with the Cowboys. These hopefully will be a high scoring game tonight. So at least we can get some fantasy points. So if you're, down by a certain amount of points, you just have to look and say, well, I hope that it is high scoring that I get these guys going.
There's going to be some miracle comebacks tonight. You might think you're down too big. Don't count yourself out, because we've just seen high scoring games in every matchup involving the Cowboys this year.
Yeah, that's
And I
good.
don't think it'll be any different this week. The Cardinals will be able to put up points. They've obviously, the offense has looked more efficient with Jacoby Brissett, and he will get
Mm-hmm.
the start. So I will say this, though. Arizona has allowed a rushing touchdown to a running back in their last 3 straight games. So,
There we go.
and
We've got
Jacobs
him.
had 2 against them in week 7.
We've got Javonte Williams projected for 16 fantasy points, but an Xfinity best ceiling score or projection, I should say, 24.9. So you're really hoping for the 24.9, and this should be a good enough game tonight, right? Are you taking the cap? We're gonna break it down here in a little bit, so I won't ask you that yet. I see another question here, and this is not about Monday night. This is more about Rome Odunze from Micah here. Appreciate you, Micah, sending this in. How do you feel about Odunze's outlook going forward? Should I package him and Monangai in a trade to pick up someone else? I think we're going to get this question a lot this week, Adam, at least with Rome Odunze, because anytime you get double zeros from any player, but especially someone like Rome Odunze, where this was such a high scoring game, he wasn't able to come down with anything. It's concerning. This is after a 18.4 outing against Baltimore. But if you take that out, since they're bye, it's been pretty bad. 5.2, 5.1 fantasy points, then the 18, and now the zeros against Cincinnati. They take on the Giants in week 10. But here's the thing. If you're trying to sell someone after they give you 0 fantasy points, it's going to
Yeah.
be really hard to get back any kind of value. You're just basically giving them away. So I would say I'm erring on the side of no, don't trade or try to trade anyone after they give you zeros, because you're just not going to get anything back in return.
And this is why people struggle with trades, right? If you really wanted to trade Odunze, last week was the week to do it, coming off a big game. But people can't comprehend that. They're like, oh, he had a big game. I'm not going to trade him. So you wait. Then he has the 0. Okay, now I want to move him. Well, everyone else sees that. They were watching. They see the box score. So it's the worst time to trade him because you're just not going to get what you want. So he has been dealing with a heel injury. I don't know if that's affecting him, but he did play the most snaps out of any receiver in this game. He played 80 snaps. So he was on the field a lot. Again, he had a tough matchup against DJ Turner. It resulted in only 2 targets. So what happens when you're getting the top cover corner? It opens it up for everyone else. So Zacchaeus had a big game with 8 targets. Loveland, we mentioned Cincinnati being so bad against the tight end. So it's still, you look at it and you're like, wait, they put up 49 points and my guy got a 0. I get it. It's psychologically disturbing, right? It's the 47 points. It is. It's just, it sucks. But there were a lot of factors that came into play. And again, he was targeted in the end zone. It was not a great pass. He could have caught it. His hands were on it, but it was not a good pass.
Yep.
If he catches that, it's still not a great day, but it's easier to digest. But yeah, you can't, if you're going to trade him now, you're not going to get anything good.
No, that's why you just have to hold. That's why I was trying to get Jordan Addison off my hands last week. Remember, I was telling you I
Yeah.
was trying to trade him because I just felt it. I was like, okay, JJ McCarthy might be good, but we don't know if he can sustain or help, prop up 2 good fantasy wide receivers. And man, we saw that. And maybe it gets better. That's the one thing, but it's his Jordan Addison's trade value, at least when I'm talking for the ones that I was trying to do, was really high last week, or high enough, right? 11.6 fantasy points. You'll take 8.4, but it just wasn't the same. He had 21.8 in week 7 after their bye. So he did a lot better when he had CJ Stroud. What am I talking about? When he had Carson Wentz out there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, just try not to trade those guys after coming off down weeks, because you will just not get the best value for those players moving forward. We're going to continue on here. We've got the best around presented by Xfinity. We're going to go through some highs from week 9. Rico Dowdle, we have to talk about. Looking at Christian McCaffrey yet again. We're going to break it down here coming up next. It is Fantasy Life right here on this Monday morning. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here. It is time for the best around, brought to you by Xfinity. Imagine all of your football all in one place. Easy Xfinity, imagine that. So we're going through some of the best stats that I found over the weekend, Adam, and getting it ready. It was not you handing out Halloween candy. You were not the best around. You did not hand out Halloween candy to the poor kids just looking for candy. Sad.
It is sad. Unfortunately, that's how it goes.
You're like, that's life. You were teaching, it was a lesson. you don't always get, everything that you want, right? That's what you're trying to
Exactly.
do.
See, you get it now. It's
Yeah,
always
I figured
deeper
you
than
out.
what it appears at the
I
surface.
figured. I figured you out. We've been doing this for however long now together. I get it. I knew that that's what you were trying to do for the children.
Yet you think you figure me out. Yet when I told you all week I was wearing a costume, you didn't believe me, and then you didn't dress up.
I dressed up. I had the hat on. I was ready to
Oh
go.
yeah, a hat. Well, that's cool. That's great costume. I wore a hat.
Wait, so did you go out with that costume that you got? You had to have.
No, I didn't.
What? You
I
just
mean,
bought
I
it for the
was.
show? I
Yeah, it
love
was for
it.
the show.
Oh my gosh. Company man. I love that. It
Exactly.
was such a good. I think you have to wear that every single year now.
I was thinking of that. I'm actually was thinking of doing like betting videos like every time in that
Oh.
costume and just make that my persona. You think that would be
I mean,
cool?
you'll get the views, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So,
Like, that's
yeah, I
what you
think I'm
have to
gonna have to
do.
do it. It's all
Okay, I
about the
like that.
views.
There we go. It's about the view. That's all we care about. All right, the best around here presented by Xfinity. How can we not mention Rico Dowdle? We haven't mentioned him yet so far today, and it's because we were saving the best for the towards the end of the show, and we wanted to see what Rico Dowdle looked like if the Carolina Panthers really did give him that lead role. And man, did they do it! He outtouched Chuba Hubbard 27-5. They won that game against the Packers, which was absolutely amazing. And he rushed for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 2 passes as well for 11 yards. He got 28.1 fantasy points from him. Adam, this is the Rico Dowdle we know, and it's obvious too. Here's the other part of this. We've mentioned this before, but it is obvious when they get their run game going, just like a lot of these other teams. It takes a lot of pressure off Bryce Young, and this Carolina Panthers team was able to get that upset win on the road, no less. It was just phenomenal to see. So we can expect Rico Dowdle to continue going out there being that lead running back for this team because you just cannot go back after what you've seen.
Again, I said it after the time when he did this against the Dolphins and Cowboys. They should have never gone back to Hubbard. And I get it. He was very important for them last year, and they paid him a lot of money. But it's clear that Dowdle was the better back. And even after the first week Hubbard came back, you saw it. And a lot of people were like, oh, well, yeah, Rico Dowdle did it against Miami and Dallas. Again, show me the running backs that go up against those teams and put up 200-plus yards from scrimmage every single game. It doesn't happen. And then this week, he did it against the Packers, who came into the week allowing the 3rd fewest fantasy points to the running back position. Rico Dowdle has started 3 games this year. He is 3rd in the NFL in rushing yards. Only Jonathan Taylor and James Cook have more yardage. And again, last year with Dallas down the stretch, he was a good running back. So I don't know why this comes as like a huge surprise.
Mm-hmm.
People act like he came out of nowhere. He was a good running back down the stretch for Dallas, not to this level. And of course, what he's doing now is insane. But they should have never taken him off the field the way they did in place of Hubbard. And they needed, I guess, 2 games to see it. We all knew that he was the better running back. So at least if you held on now, you can start him. They hinted at it this week. And, we always worry about coach speak. Coaches say things and it doesn't get done. See Brashard Smith. But they did mention, okay, yeah, we've got to go more in the direction of Dowdle. They did it. And Chuba Hubbard now is a handcuff. Like, you cannot play him.
They take on the Saints at home this week, and then they are on the road against the Falcons and continuing on the road against the 49ers. But yeah, Rico Dowdle, I mean, just shout out. His rushing yards over expected total is at plus 172 on the year. That's the 3rd highest total of any runner in the NFL. It's insane what he's been able to do. And like we said, they were able to, I mean, this is just a viable option to move the ball. And it was a low scoring game in this one. But he accounted for both of their touchdowns, got flagged. What was the flag for the dancing,
celebration,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there. It's no fun out there, but you can, like you said, he's going to be an every week starter. You're excited about it. And yeah, Chuba Hubbard moves down the rankings going forward. But it was good to see him finally get out there and them, listen to you. You should have them on speed dial, these coaches. Say, I told you so. Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we'll get some things wrong too. Then you got to call them like, hey, coach, you were right.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, you mentioned Bryce Young. He did absolutely nothing in this game.
No, he did not. But that's the thing that we've seen before, where when this running game is good, it takes pressure off anyone. And so, yeah, Bryce Young, it's not... You're hopefully, oh, wait, did you start him? I was saying, hopefully you didn't have to start him, but you have him in
my super flex league. Yeah. I had an awful week. I can tell you that.
It's crazy, though, how good that team's been with how awful your starters have been.
It's starting to fall apart. It's
so you lost this
5
week,
and 4.
obviously.
Yeah. I mean, can I win a
Oh,
super flex league going forward with?
2.98
Yeah,
fantasy points. Who's your second quarterback?
this week it was Tyler Shuck because I
Mm.
had Spencer Rattler and I do have Justin Fields, so I guess it'll be like a Fields Young combination going forward. Like it's
If they
just
play Fields,
it's
yeah,
not good enough.
9.24 fantasy points for Tyler Shuck.
Yeah,
And they're probably, I mean, come on, they have to trade Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed, maybe both.
you're hearing Shaheed more than Olave.
I don't know why they wouldn't try to get rid of both, to be totally honest. They have to start building for the future, and it's not going to happen this year. I mean, it's just absolutely brutal what they're going through. So just get as many picks as you can and just, sell everyone. That's my thought process. They haven't called me though. My phone's on. Ringer's on,
They
but
will
we'll
be
see.
calling. Just keep waiting.
Christian McCaffrey, the best around. Feels like almost every week we can put him in this category, but I saw this stat. Christian McCaffrey set an NFL record with his 16th career game with both a rushing and receiving score that breaks a tie with Marshall Faulk. Anytime that we talk about Marshall Faulk and any other running back breaking records from him, we're obviously going to put him in the category of the best around. And because of this day over the weekend, too, because Jonathan Taylor had a quiet day and Christian McCaffrey scored 34.3 fantasy points, he's now the new number one scorer when we look at the running back. So, yeah, it was another great weekend for him. A cheat code. You don't need us to tell you that every single time that you have him, you start him every single week, unless they're on a bye.
33 touches in this game. So
Jeez.
he was coming off 11. So they said, you know what, we have to get him back to that big workload. So it's multiple times this year he's had 30 plus touches. I think this is the fourth time this year he's had at least 30 touches in a game.
It's a cheat code, not like George Kittle.
Yeah,
6.9
that's
fantasy
not working.
points. That's a bad. It's gonna be chalked up to as a bad pick, even though we had the injury that kept him out
4
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
because they put him on IR.
Yeah, IR. 5 weeks though. It's 5 games. It was from week 2 to week 6. Um, Brutal
Yeah,
pick.
look, it felt like with all the injuries at receiver that he would be featured in the passing game, and it's not happened. McCaffrey led the team in targets with 6, and Jennings had 5, and then Kittle had 4. So yeah, of course. So now what happens is we bail on Kittle next year. He goes in round 8, and he goes off.
Exactly. Okay, round 8 Kittle I will take every single time. That's like 2 years, or no, was it last year? No, 2 years ago. No, last year where he was going in round 5 and he exploded last season. So it's just been, yeah, it hasn't been necessarily a fun ride when you're looking at George Kittle. Another best around, because I did see this stat, wanted to bring up Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. So Justin Herbert passed Matt Ryan over the weekend for the 5th most passing yards by a player in their first 6 seasons in NFL history. So again, this was it was a good week. It was the 3rd consecutive week, 4th time this season that we've seen Justin Herbert actually exceed 25 fantasy points, walked away with 27.7. And it was, like I said, I took them in Survivor, or not in our Survivor League, but I had a pick'em league that I took them. And thank goodness they won that one. But this was surprisingly a little bit more competitive than I even expected. Obviously, Justin Herbert and company came away with this win. But yeah, this was a good game for Justin Herbert. Can't say the same thing for Kamani Vidal, who had a good matchup, but that was just brutal. He was inside my top 12 for this week. Kamani Vidal was.
Well, Vidal had a great matchup against this Titans run
Yeah.
defense and it had over 100 yards in 2 of his last 3 games. So, yeah, that was definitely a disappointment. With Herbert, you are seeing him starting to run again. He talked about this in the offseason that he wanted to run more, and we saw it the first 2 weeks, 32, 31 rushing yards, 7 and 9 carries. And then he got quiet. It was 2 carries, 1, 4, 1. Now the last 3 weeks, 6 for 31, 7 for 62, 9 for 57 and a rushing touchdown. So that element just brings a lot, but they did lose Joe Alt again,
This
and
is,
that
I
is a
mean,
problem.
two more offensive tackles went
Yeah,
down. It was
it's
just they can't stay healthy. And Joe Alt, I mean, we saw him when he returned, how big of a difference he was to this team, but him getting carted off the field with it's an ankle, the second ankle injury this season. They just can't catch a break.
no, they
And then on
can.
and then Herbert was sacked on the play immediately after that. Did you see that?
Yeah, he
When
was
when it
sacked
all
6
went down?
times
It was
in this game.
crazy. He was pressured on 42.5% of his dropbacks, hit 11 times, sacked six sacks against him. So you hope that they are able to just continue going forward. And you hope too that Omari and Hampton, this is more for fantasy purposes, but that they are able to get him back. I still think though, Adam, if you have Omari and Hampton, it's probably not going to be till after the bye, right? They have a bye in week 12. And we're going into week 10 now. They play Pittsburgh at home.
Yeah, we really haven't heard any positive updates on
No.
Hampton. So at this point, I don't even know when he's going to return. Probably the best case scenario is after the bye, but we haven't really heard anything. He can return in week 10, but that ain't going to happen.
No. Well, I think we would be hearing about it by
Yeah.
now if it was going to be like that. So if you have Omari and Hampton, just be patient and continue playing those guys that you picked up because of him. But yeah, Justin Herbert at least had a really good day in that one. That was, again, the best around, brought to you by Xfinity. Imagine all of your football all in one place. Easy Xfinity. Imagine that. We're going to continue on. It is time to talk with Jonathan Von Tobel here, get his takes on the game tonight, and of course, the early lines for week 10. We're going to break it down with him coming up next. This is Fantasy Life right here. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you, and joined by Jonathan Von Tobel here, on-air host and betting analyst over at VSiN. You can find him on Money Moves, Countdown to Kickoff, and Live Bet Sunday. Jonathan, welcome in. Sorry about the Colts. We didn't do a Colts rejoin or anything, but how you doing? How's it going?
Well, there's nothing to use, right?
Yeah,
I think that was probably it. there weren't many highlights, but not feeling good. I think, look, they're still 7-2. There's still everything in front of them. And the good thing for them was that the Chiefs lost yesterday as well.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about it from a seeding standpoint, if you were going to lose a game like that, it's pretty good that the team you're competing with for a top seed potentially is the one that lost as well. So bright side, we're looking forward.
There we go. We love that. Glass half full is what we like to do. Hey, are you in any survivor pools? You still alive in some of those? How was the weekend?
No, I got slaughtered quite a few weeks
sorry.
ago in the Rams 49ers Thursday night game. So
I did that one too. Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, that was tough. Well, Adam's still alive for both of us, right? Adam, you're still alive.
Yeah, I'm still alive. I had the
There we
Rams
go.
this past week.
I'm still alive in my main guillotine league, so that's all that matters.
Hey, that's all that. Hey, I didn't get chopped either, so we're good over there. All right, we're talking with Jonathan Von Tobel here, getting his thoughts. Of course, we have to start for tonight. Hopefully, we've got a lot of people, Jonathan, calling in saying, "Hey, need a Monday Night Miracle," and hopefully they can provide it for us because the total's sitting there at 53.5 tonight. Spread sitting at 3, and Dallas Cowboys are favored at home. So, what are your expectations? What have you seen so far for this game tonight?
Yeah, it's hard not to buy into what the market's telling us with this total, right? I mean, you look at both teams defensively, pretty middle of the road. We know Dallas, 30th across the board. If you're looking at its success rate, expected points added, the explosive play rate allowed, they're 26th. Arizona is a little bit more middle of the pack, but still, we're talking about like mid-20s in a lot of different metrics and middle of the road almost directly in terms of explosive play rate allowed. And the interesting part for Arizona is their offense the last 2 weeks has been better under Jacoby Brissett, who is going to start as we expect him here today. They're throwing the ball more. Their expected points added has been better. So all this to say is, I'm kind of down with this game potentially going over. I understand that maybe, we get these expectations and then these games come in and they're dead unders. But I would, if you don't want to lay, or if you want to go over, 53.5, you could just wait. If you get 2 opening drive punts or anything like that, you're going to get under that number and be able to come in game for something cheap. But I think the over is the way to go. It's hard to stay away from that for at least a side and total standpoint.
Well, what's your advice on a game like today with player props? Because it's a standalone game. People love to bet it. People love to bet overs. You talk about the total and the count. Like, I'm already seeing like these player props moving from yesterday to now. Like, they just keep moving up. So, like, what do you do in a situation like that?
So I think what you're trying to do is, there's at least one thing we can look at, I think. There has been a change, and it's what we just mentioned, is Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. And so with that change, what has come over the last 2 weeks? And when I was going over the numbers, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this, I thought the one thing that stuck out was it's only 2 games, but Zay Jones has been a much bigger part of the offense over the last 2 weeks. 9 targets, 7 receptions. Target share goes from over 11% or from less than 4% to just over 11% with Brissett out there. But he's still really being priced like a guy that's barely on the fringes of this thing. Yard prop is 20.5, 1.5 receptions shaded to the over at like minus 140. Even the longest reception at 12.5. Like, I thought I was going to target some Zay Jones numbers today, kind of buying on the change that we have seen. Or if you wanted to go the other direction, I know it's not sexy in a game like this, but I don't know if Marvin Harrison Jr. owes Jacoby Brissett money and he just is not paying him up, but he hasn't really been as highly targeted as he was when Kyler Murray was out there. So maybe going there and going under on some Marvin Harrison stuff. So, but Jones was going to be my main target today, to your point about like what you would do. And I'd also just throw out there, this is a long shot for a reason, but the way he's priced, I don't think he is being priced in the sense of a guy who's had a larger workload. Jones is 28-1 to lead the game in receiving yards. I just don't think that's priced accurately for a guy who has been a bigger part of the offense since Brissett has taken over. So that might be a fun long shot to sweat out. But for sure, Jones overs, I think, is the way to go today.
And it's kind of crazy, Jonathan, because we were talking about this too. I went and picked up Jacoby Brissett because at some point you say, well, the offense looks a little bit better with Jacoby Brissett out there. We made jokes like, okay, this is a soft benching of Kyler Murray, which we don't fully believe. But I think it's just crazy when you look at a game like this where you have a high total and you say, okay, Monday Night Miracles, things that you need. Jacoby Brissett might be your best answer to get to some of those, props to hit and just for some fantasy points. I think that's crazy that we're saying that in the year 2025 on November 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, and it's kind of from the Kyler Murray standpoint. You wonder what the future looks like here because I think you're kind of at the end of the experiment. Like it hasn't really panned out, and who knows? Maybe he's the next Sam Darnold. Baker Mayfield just needs a new scenery, and all of a sudden really starts to grasp what's going to happen here. But the fact that Brissett can come in and clearly be the better option, and look, they trust him more. I mean, one of the things I was going to bring up with Stormy today, the change in their offense, they're throwing it more often too. I mean, their pass rate goes from 59% to 63% under Brissett. I mean, that's a change of 3.8%, but still they're trusting him to do more, and he's much more aggressive. Average up the targets way deeper downfield than what Murray was, so he's just all around the better option.
Again, talking with Jonathan Von Tobel here, on-air host and betting analyst over at VSiN. Moving ahead to the Week 10 and the early lines, Jonathan. I mean, what's standing out to you right now? Are you going to the Carolina Panthers, who are just now obviously starting to win and say, hey, we love the spot that we're at? Where are you looking this weekend?
Yeah, it's hard not to, just considering, how well this has gone for Carolina by their own expectations and obviously pulling that off yesterday. I'll say this. I think it's an interesting spot for Denver coming up this week on a Thursday night, coming off of that tough game against the Houston Texans. Raiders, of course, fall short at the gun against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I think we're kind of learning at this point right now, Bo Nix ain't it. And I think this offense is pretty challenged. And the Raiders, for their credit, are getting healthier. And all of a sudden now Brock Bowers is looking like Brock Bowers. And, Geno Smith is not throwing interceptions left and right. Whole point here being is that I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see this number head a little bit more further toward Las Vegas by the time we get to kickoff on Thursday. Maybe it's only like 8.5, so it's not the biggest difference between 9.5 and 8.5. But Las Vegas immediately sticks out after a tough game for Denver. And I don't want to be an alarmist, but I will say, it is somewhat troubling that the Colts gave up all those pressures without facing a blitz. All the pressures came via, and all those turnovers for Daniel Jones, according to PFF, came on downs when they were just sending 4 or fewer rushers. So I think Atlanta can rush the passer relatively well, and out there on a neutral, looking ahead to your bye, might be tough to cover a number like that. We'll see what it is, but it's 5.5 now. I think I'd take a little piece of Atlanta. I had them against New England. They look much better. Drake London's great, and that's a secondary you can get after, and I think Atlanta might have something for Indy this weekend in Germany.
Speaking of the Patriots, they head to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay coming off the bye. Tampa is short favorite at 2.5. New England's 4-0 on the road. Are you buying into this New England team, and how do you think they match up against Tampa?
I mean, I'm buying in the sense of I think that they're a solid team that can make the playoffs. But I think we kind of learned this last weekend that from a pricing standpoint, maybe the market was a little too high. I mean, they were up to 5.5, and they were kind of in control the whole game. But Atlanta showed that you can get after the secondary a little bit too. And while Tampa Bay, we know about these injuries, especially to Evans and whatnot, I still trust this team, and they desperately needed some time off. And I think getting here now, where you're laying a short number with a Buck squad that I really buy. I'm kind of in on laying a short number with Tampa Bay, and the market's been kind of low on Tampa Bay, throughout the entire season, excuse me. And so I wouldn't balk at the fact that this is 2.5 because you can read into the numbers, right? The fact that there's 2.5 minus 110 everywhere would say that there's sharps that aren't really willing to go and lay that and get that up to 3. But I wouldn't. That wouldn't scare me off here. I like Tampa Bay here in the spot.
Awesome. Well, Jonathan, we appreciate you joining us so much, and we get to talk to you next Monday. Enjoy your week.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys, as always.
Awesome. There he goes. Jonathan Von Tobel, again, on-air host and betting analyst over at VSiN. You can find him on Money Moves, Monday to Friday, Countdown to Kickoff, and Live Bet Sunday. We're not done yet, Adam. We have to break down one more game here tonight and do the Monday Night Football preview. It's the Cardinals taking on your Dallas Cowboys and the Monday Night Miracles that people have to go through. Hopefully, we can say all good things, but we'll continue taking your phone calls and your questions here coming up next. The Cowboys can't ruin Adam's weekend when he has no expectations for him, right? That's where we're at right now.
It is true. The one thing with the Cowboys is they are fun to watch. They put up points. They give up a lot of points, but they are entertaining to watch. There are some teams that are boring and don't do anything. At least if they are going to lose games, go out putting up 25, 30 points.
Exactly. That's all you need over there. So we're going to break down that game. But first, we have unfortunate breaking news here, Adam. And it was something that we probably expected. But in the break, we did get a tweet from Adam Schefter saying that tests confirmed the Packers tight end Tucker Kraft did tear his ACL as we all feared. And that means he is going to be done for the remainder of the season. Again, a brutal blow for a tight end that was having such a great start to the season and just a great year so far. And they were utilizing him a lot in this offense. So I wrote up waiver wire names to know. We're going to really break those down here tomorrow, but you're going to be without Tucker Kraft for the rest of the season. I wrote up Luke Musgrave, tight end for the Packers, as someone who could step up. He's 0% rostered, but we know what this team likes to do. And this team really likes to, put the ball in everyone's hands. Musgrave finished week 9 with 3 receptions for 34 yards, so I wouldn't unload all your fab on him. This is still an offense that had 10 different players catch a pass from Jordan Love last week, so not big expectations for him as a tight end that could step up into that same Tucker Kraft role, because he's just not as good as Tucker Kraft, to be totally honest.
Yeah, it's a big loss for this offense because he was doing so much after the catch. And, they probably will get back Jayden Reed in a couple weeks on Tavian Wicks, but yeah, they just spread the ball around so much. Romeo Doubs is the guy you can count on right now. I mean, Christian Watson has shown the ability to make a big play. He had a 52-yard catch, but only 2 for 58. And this offense it seems like it should be better. They have too many games like this where they disappoint. I know they're 5-2-1, so you're like, oh, what's the problem? But I mean, losing at home to the Panthers 16-13. They had that game that they lost to the Browns 13-10. So it's just, you expect this team to be better and more consistent, and they just have these letdown spots. So yeah, losing Kraft though it's a pretty big blow to the offense.
Absolutely brutal. Just another update here since we're on it. Looks like Mike Vrabel said Kayshon Boutte is day to day with that hamstring injury. He said he likely won't practice early in the week, and that Kyle Williams will get more opportunities. We'll believe it when we see it. And then it looks like the Browns are designating Cedric Tillman to return to practice after his hamstring injury. He's been on IR for the last 4 weeks, so maybe we see him. Not necessarily rushing to put him in our starting lineups though, Adam, because we know that if it's Dylan Gabriel going forward, he just likes to target the tight ends, and so he probably won't get much.
Yeah, that's the problem. I love Tillman and the talent, but with Gabriel at quarterback, I just don't see it happening. Go look at the stats of Jerry Jeudy the last couple of games with Gabriel. It is disgusting.
It is not good, to say the least. I'm trying to be nice about it, but it is not good if you go look up those Jerry Jeudy stats. Hopefully some good stats that we can get come from this Monday night football game. Again, it's the Cardinals going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Do have a caller on, and Deuce has been waiting for us for a while, so let's see what his Monday night miracle is. Deuce, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I got tonight. I'm down 23.5 points. I got Tyler McBride going up against Adams' vaunted Cowboys defense. What you think?
Okay, 23, and he's got McBride. Ooh.
Yeah, that's tough.
I like it though. You don't like it?
Come on, really? You're gonna
why not 2 touchdowns? Who says
look?
No?
Is it possible? Yeah, but anytime you're asking that much from one player, it's going to be tough. Now, to be fair, he had 29.4 last week, and he had in week 7, and then 21.2 in week 6. So both games with Brissett. That's the one encouraging factor. He has 24 targets in 2 games with Brissett. So Brissett is clearly looking for him, and always a better chance to score a touchdown. He has a 30% target share. 18 receptions, 146 yards, and 3 touchdowns with Brissett at quarterback. So, yeah, you're probably going to you definitely are going to need 2 touchdowns to have a chance here, right?
Yeah, that's why 2 touchdowns. Our Xfinity best score, and this is the very best that we're projecting, is exactly 23 fantasy points from Trey McBride. So his regular projected, median fantasy score for this week or for this game tonight is 16. But I'm holding out hope. 2 touchdowns? We've seen weirder things happen.
Yeah, look, it's possible. It's, again, when you're facing the Cowboys, Bengals defense, you can dream the biggest upside that you want because they're just so bad. Dallas has been decent against the tight end. They haven't really faced any top tight ends. I mean, they faced Kraft 5 for 56. Mason Taylor had 9 for 67 against them. So this is clearly the best tight end they faced this year. So I'd feel most weeks you'd be like, yeah, you're in trouble. But considering the quarterback, the matchup, the pace, the total points, you definitely have a shot.
All right, let's go, and appreciate you calling in, Deuce. Good luck with that Monday Night Miracle. I see a couple others, and we can start breaking down this game. I'm surprised we don't have more Bam Knight questions, that people are starting Bam Knight tonight, because I thought that was a pretty good. I don't know. I think that's a pretty good matchup for him. We're gonna see it, and maybe he doesn't get the boost that I'm expecting him to. But this Dallas defense has allowed the second most yards and fantasy points and 10 touchdowns, which is the fifth most to running backs this season. So I've got him as my flex option for the week, and I'm starting Bam Knight tonight. What are your expectations in this game, and do your Cowboys take it out, get that win?
Yeah, I lean yes, but Arizona's played a lot of close games. If you look at their 5 losses, they lost to the Packers by 4, the Colts by 4, the Titans by 1, where that was the game that they were up big, 28-6. Even the Seahawks, they lost on a field goal late. So they've been competitive. They stayed in games, and Jacoby Brissett obviously brings more confidence in the passing game. So I think it could be a close game. I am a little worried about that Cardinals backfield. It looks like Bam Knight's the guy, but then Michael Carter was first-team reps during the week. They said that, Bam Knight's the first guy up, but we're going to use all 3. So, and the way to beat the Cowboys is via the pass. So I think you might see more of a pass-focused offense with Arizona. And Bam Knight, I don't know. I felt better about him earlier in the week, and then I don't know. I think there's some concern about how they're going to utilize this backfield.
We're going to see. Another one here I see from William. Can Maserati Marv get me 12.4 in a non-PPR for my Monday Night Miracle? And by the way, William said there's nothing wrong with going to bed early. Thank you, William. I know. Adam doesn't get it, but I know.
Yeah,
We've got him projected 8.9 fantasy points in standard leagues. Best is 14.7.
Well, this is obvious. He needs a touchdown, and he has not scored since week 4.
Gosh, has it been that long?
Yeah.
Jeez,
look, if there's any game he's going off, it has to be against this defense, right?
There we go.
This should be a game he gets 60, 70 yards. Come on,
That's the positivity we like. I love it, Adam. You taking the Cowboys?
Reluctantly.
Oh, that was the longest pause ever. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on this Monday. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be here same time tomorrow.